following show features stupid opinions and ideas from two idiot brothers who probably did little research and practiced zero due diligence on the topic at hand. The MLO Bros' opinions do not reflect the views of their employer, guests, sponsors, families, neighbors, or pets. If you do not like what they are saying and don't agree with their views or opinions, don't watch the show. We can promise we do not care. Welcome to the worst show on the internet.
Time to reset the pibs.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. According to our friend Jim Hoboy last night, we need to do a better job resetting the pibs. We are here with Stephanie Volpini Hahn, correct?
Correct.
And we are going to talk a little bit about mental health because it's mental health
as well as what is it? Chi? What was the?
We'll talk a little bit about Chi.
I want to talk about Chi.
Can we start?
Because you have to start off with Chi because you walk in here and start judging us
and telling us we need to reorganize our room.
That's not true. I wouldn't say it's, but Chi is your energy and the energy you give off, so it does relate a little bit to your mental health.
Okay, so let's go back before we start here. Let's go back to what you think of the Balrog painting behind.
Okay, wait. So Isaac,
you said that brings what to the room?
Evil.
Well, no, it's more about the placement of it.
Okay,
it's not the actual picture.
I mean, yeah, I'm totally offended by the picture. I mean,
Okay.
It's not, but at the same time, it's important to honor who you are and what you want in your space.
Yes.
So it's
so explain. You said the fire.
The fire does what? It's like burning bridges, basically.
in the location in the Feng Shui Bagua. That is the location of family and community. And those are areas that you want to grow, which are represented by the element wood and fire.
Fire. Okay.
Right. Which is right.
Fire is burning down.
Let me change your mind. Let me change your mind real quick.
Okay,
this is from Lord of the Rings, the book,
the Balrog,
the movie.
Okay.
This is the Balrog demon thingy sent by basically the devil.
Okay.
Yep.
This guy right here, Gandalf the Grey.
Yep.
Okay.
Also known as Mithrandir by the elves. He is basically an angel
fighting.
Okay.
He is fighting the demon, protecting his buddies,
his friends
who are running away.
It's a last stand.
A last stand by Mithrandir, Gandalf the Grey, to save his friends so they could get away. He is the protector. I like to think of me and Luke as this guy, protecting people from the demons. You know,
I have to tell you, I love that.
See?
Complete metaphor.
He's literally an angel, though.
Yes.
He was an angel sent by.
Mic away from you. It's so loud.
Sorry.
You're either close or far. Make your
Sorry.
Yeah. So
that's
he's
fantastic.
so that's why that's there because it's
Gandalf
the last stand.
Mithrandir.
Exactly.
I
So
could appreciate that. Absolutely, I could appreciate that.
so we'll how about sometime we're gonna have you on and we'll talk about the whole feng shui thing or whatever that is. Did I say that right?
You did say that right.
Feng shui thing because I'd love to have her because she was like judging my organization over here.
It's not judging. It's looking at it from an analytical lens of what you're trying to.
Looking at something at an analytical lens would be a definition of judging, personally.
Oh
speaking.
my God. Okay. Goodness. Okay. Well, I guess all I'm going to say is that it comes down to what you're trying to manifest in your space. How's that? In your life is what's right.
Luke manifests chaos. That's
well, I mean, there you go. Okay.
I'm manifesting chaos.
And frustration.
Yep, chaos and frustration. All right, so let's talk a little bit. It is Mental Health Month, and let's set this up. So we did our thing with Lowville, where we raised the money, did all that. They were very grateful, and Stephanie's like, "Hey, I want to come on the show," and she's been a follower since day one of the podcast, and I was like, "Well." I was thinking about doing it like right when we were doing it. I was like, let's give it a little week or two to breathe a little bit.
But we're still within the month of
right. So what again, you are a adjunct professor at YSU. You have your master's in counseling.
Master's in education
counseling. So that's even better. Yeah. So I was like, well, why are we going to have you on the show? And she's like, I will send you my resume, Mr. Schuster. I was like, okay. So what are we going to talk? And again, this is all in result of the tragedy that happened in Lowville, where the kid walked into 7th grade, took his own life in front of all the other kids
in the cafeteria.
Obviously, that was a cry for help. I mean, it was beyond a cry for help at that point. It was. And it's like we have to do something with our kids to pay attention to them, to ask if them are okay. I think the schools have to be responsible too for monitoring that, because and my wife's a teacher. The thing I've learned, some parents aren't like me,
exactly.
where I mean, I am all over my boys. You know what I mean?
What's going on?
What's going on? I talk every night.
There.
We talk. You know what I mean? And some kids don't have that. Some kids, the parents are gone. They go home. I mean, I've heard like stories of kids, like kindergartner kids, getting on the bus, no parents home, alone, dressing, because the parents have to work because they don't make enough money. So the kids don't have coat. They come to school without coats on. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. So you got to really think outside the box, I guess. So Stephanie, what do you got? How do you want to start that? Trying to set you up.
No, well, something that Isaac and I were speaking about earlier was, when I was in 8th grade, 1980 something, we had a classmate who was a victim of a hit and run. And a hit and run on 224 in Diana Drive in the 7th grade.
Wow.
And they didn't, there were no school counselors back then.
Yeah.
Right. And when you look historically of a lot of the things that have happened over time, I guess I would say in sophomore year, another classmate of ours drinking and driving with other friends, Memorial Day weekend, died in a car crash.
Yikes. Right.
So it just seemed that there were, many of these types of instances of young people exhibiting behaviors, right? That, the one kid, to no fault of his own, what was he doing? Is walking down the street, got hit by a car. But it's more about the ability to process when traumatic things happen and where that goes and what that looks like. And if you are not taught to process or know how to process, right? It was 1980s. Nobody was processing anything like that. We're the generation that we raised ourselves. Our parents were out working. We were home making dinner for ourselves. So it was a very different time. And I think that's what has changed so much over the last few years, is they've really put a huge push towards school counselors, but the school counselors are inundated. Students, now more than ever, COVID happened. Right. So when you look at some of these things, it definitely impacts these youth. But over time, at least for me, when I was a freshman in college, my parents ended up separating.
Yeah.
How many parents,
Yeah, right. It's a lot. Yeah, right.
Right. And then you don't have, but nobody ever gave you any of those skills to understand what do you do when something's not right, or have you tap into becoming aware of knowing you're off. Right. So then what do you do when you're in college?
Yeah.
What do you do when you're in college and you're
drunk?
Right. Every night.
Is it processing or like outlets of communication? Because if that kid could communicate how he's feeling, he wouldn't feel the need to do that. And then the school, if they were to communicate better with the kids, then those kids would be able to communicate. And like, it's just across the board.
It's awareness too, is what she's saying.
Yeah.
It's there's something going on in your head.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it.
Yeah.
You don't understand, or you don't grasp the fact that I am feeling this way because I'm depressed.
Yeah.
Or I'm, you know what I mean? I'm sick.
You're not able to recognize.
You're not able to recognize.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So many of the students this last semester, I taught a class called Introduction to Mental Health and Wellness in Contemporary Society. And many of the youth speak about the tremendous amount of anxiety that they have.
Yeah.
And, a big part of the class is about processing. What is that? Right. And a lot of it is about writing. And nobody ever, how many papers did you want to write in school?
Never.
Right.
Never.
So when you're trying to talk about yourself or think about yourself, it's even more challenging, right? Because you were never taught to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So, what the biggest piece about anxiety really comes down to is fear.
Okay. Afraid.
Fear. You're afraid. Fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Fear of not knowing what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So it's many times when things don't go well for us, we become what? Frustrated.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We don't realize that it's unfolding as it's supposed to. It's our reaction to what's happening that is right. That we don't know what to do with, because we don't know how to respond.
And what's wild is like the difference in people, like me as a human being compared to my wife, or like us. And I feel like my whole family in general, we're so much better at handling anxiety. I don't know if it's because we just are annoying and talk about all of our problems, but like I go into a situation or I go to a party and I'm like, okay, so excited to talk to everybody and, you know, it's going to be a great time. My wife goes to that same party and like can line up this list of everything that can possibly go wrong and everything like this person won't like her there or this will happen on the way there or just a list of, and she just stresses out. And I'm like, Shelby, like I can sit her
Calm
down.
down.
I'm like, not even calm down, but like, okay, let's say
Because that's worked.
let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I know what I do is, and it works.
Tell your wife to calm down. That's
No, what works for Shelby is I'm like, Shelby, okay, list of problems. Let's go through them together. And if that comes up, let's just run it. If that happens, let's say so-and-so's at the party and you can't stand them and they bring up how ugly you are. How are we going to handle that? And she's, well, I don't know. Blah, 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 I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm like, if somebody ever told you that you're ugly, I am going to be there freaking out on that person, number one. But like, if she then works through all of her problems, takes a couple breaths and thinks about it, then she's totally fine. She's like, you know what? I don't know why I'm working up. But it's like I don't know if she never had that person with her, but that's why we work so well is because, you know, I can get her to talk about it. But I don't know. It's just weird how people are wired, you know, differently.
Well, I think that's why my husband and I work together so well because we are total opposites.
Yeah.
He is like always like chill.
Yeah. Shelby's the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
He's always very chill.
Complimentary.
And I tend to get sometimes a little excited about certain things.
Exactly.
Just occasionally I tend to get excited about things. However, you know, I think what's interesting is in previous generations, and this is in no way generalizing, in previous generations, parents weren't necessarily as encouraging to grow or to change or to evolve. How's that, right? In who you are as a person, right? So if you had a problem, you just dealt with the problem. You didn't talk about the problem. You didn't try to get better at something, right?
Yeah.
But right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's different, definitely a lens generationally to look at. Now there's counseling and it's different kinds of counseling. When we were in school, nobody went to counseling.
Yeah. See, and it's like that's the generation. And I think it's a learned thing from your parents. You know, it's like Pop never talked about. You know what I mean?
No.
He'd sit in his chair and just fume and fester. And you know what I mean? That's just how he handled it.
And then eventually implode.
Yeah. And
explode.
Mom, I think, would talk about stuff way more. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I think we are like the siblings, all the four of us, we kind of go right in between the middle. You know what I mean? Like I'll fester, but eventually I'm talking about it and trying, you know what I mean? So I think it's all learned behaviors, I would say. So
yeah, it definitely is. But it takes, I would say, time, awareness, and willingness to want understand. To not just understand, but to want to get better or to change what's occurring.
To identify that you have it and then work to make it better.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct. So for me, it was like a 10-year binge. Binge. I'm thinking, how old are you? 28. Oh yeah. I think it was 28 when I like kind of came to. Yeah. And I own that. You know, it was, I had one traumatic experience after another. When I was in college, my high school boyfriend's best friend shot and killed his girlfriend. So then I'm switching schools. I did like the MAC tour, went to a number of colleges. But I kept not getting it. Yeah. I kept not figuring out what it was, who I was, what I wanted to do.
Right.
And when you don't know who you are, you're constantly searching and seeking in anything and everything, that anything else that gives you validation for who you are, as opposed to truly looking at yourself. Right. Absolutely. So it's the whole like old thing, adage about like, I'm going to go find myself. You're still going to be who you are no matter where you go. Right. Until you start to really take a deeper look as to why do I make the decisions I do? What about in relationships have I experienced? Which ones are positive? Right, what does that look like? Right. Which ones are that stuff, though. And that's ultimately like that's what I love.
And and it's like, you know, your like relationships and that kind of stuff. It triggered my trigger. So like you guys think I'm out of control now. You should have seen me in my 20s. You know what I mean? Like, oh really? I went to college. I mean, I graduated with a 2.1. Yeah. Right. I drank all the time, went and worked on a cruise ship. Yeah. Drank and partied all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like every day, literally 2.5 years of drinking every day in a row.
And then in your late 20s, you hit that wall of like, what the hell am I going to do with the rest of my life?
Well, you know what did it? I got a DUI. when I was like 25. And I was like, okay, I have a good job at a bank. What is going on? You know what I mean? You gotta freaking pull it together.
Exactly.
And then I took like a year, right, where I was kind of like not going out. I was like, okay, I just gotta, living in a part. I was like, I was hanging out with a 14-year-old Isaac, and I was like 28 years old. Exactly. Yeah. So then I met Maggie.
Yeah.
And she kind of really put it together. And then when you have a kid,
oh my god, I saved you, didn't I? Hanging out with you 14.
Dude, we were playing World of Warcraft.
I saved you.
We were playing video.
It's better than drinking and boozing all the time. I saved you.
I was 27 years old.
Maggie saved you.
I was 27 years old playing World of Warcraft.
At least you recognized your issue. Like some people would get that DUI and then death spiral.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So at least you were able to recognize and then get out of it.
Well, I always say this. The thing that kind of pulled it together for me was when I got my DUI. This is a great story. Got my DUI, and I couldn't drive. They make you go to like a 3-day camp.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And I had to.
I never had one, but I've heard.
Fair enough. So our dad drives me to DUI camp to drop me off. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting out of the car, and he's pull into like the hotel spot. Getting out of the car, I open the door. I get my bag out, and he rolls. I hear the window roll. I'm like, "See you later, Dad." I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll pick you up in 3 days." As I'm like getting out, I close the door. I hear the window roll down. It's like, zzz, and he looks at me and he says, "Son, I'm very proud of you right now, being a smartass, right?" And I'm like, and I just go like this, and I just go. And I just walked in, and I was like, and honest to God, I was like in that camp, and I was like, okay, this is gotta change.
And yet at the same time he was, because you were taking responsibility for the action.
Exactly.
Right. And that's a lot of like what kids aren't doing. They're not taking responsibility.
He was being a smart ass, but it hit. But
it connected with you. And how many DUIs have you had since?
I don't know. I've been drunk. I have not drunk and drive.
And you taught me. And you taught me to never drink and drive.
There you go.
I was thinking Ubered. I was lucky enough to have Uber, but I Ubered everywhere.
Will never do, because I will never. And it had nothing to do with the money. I never want to have to go back to that freaking 3-day camp, because it was the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
It's very much about those experiences that you have, right? But unless you have something that actually like changes, like that is very much like, I wonder what happened here. I think I might need to make a different choice.
Yeah.
It was about, I would say I was in my like mid-20s when I first got into counseling. Yeah. And I'll never forget like the first time I went to a counselor. I was a hot mess.
Yeah.
And I mean, I own that. And at that time. And
sure.
And I walked in and he's like, you'd make a really great counselor. I was like, dude, like I have failed. I had like the 1.9 GPA. Yeah. Like I sucked at school. Yeah. I had no idea what I was doing with my life. I was really, really good at making poor life choices.
Yeah.
Right. So like for him to sit there and say that to me, I'm like, you, Dr. Sarlo, thank God. You're crazy.
Yeah.
Next thing I knew,
there you are.
Within years, probably, what was that? Yeah, within like 9 years, I was going back to school to get.
I think mom and dad always just like the way they raised me. Like I was always terrified of letting them down, or like them saying you're not a good son or whatever. So it's like terrified me with all of my relationships in life, where I am terrified of someone saying you're not good enough.
You have a problem with that.
I have a serious problem.
Like a failure.
It dates back of failure of like someone in my life saying, I am not proud of you. You are not good enough. Like
he does it. You do that with work too. Like you're terrified of work.
It's terrifying.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that.
Mom and dad always.
But it's about knowing your issue, and you recognize.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Right. But that comes down to being self-aware.
Yeah.
Like, I have to tell you, like, there's the ability to be able to recognize things within yourself that you're like, this maybe isn't like the best. I got to kind of work on this, right? You're not going to sit there and be like, I suck.
Yeah.
Like that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's so much more about thinking about how can I get better at something that is troubling me in my life,
right?
Whether it's a relationship with somebody or whatever that is, you have to be able to recognize it. But if you're not even able to recognize it because you're not even aware that it's an issue,
you're so stubborn too. That's an issue,
right? So and then it doesn't just show up in one part, right? Because relationships don't just occur in one spot,
right?
Yeah,
they also occur at work.
Yeah.
And then, depending, it's all kinds of things, birth order.
Yeah.
Where
absolutely.
Different family things.
The work thing is an interesting concept too, because it's like I have a massive authority complex problem.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
massive.
I would say I have a great respect for authority, but I also recognize what proper authority and like it's sort of like you also have to hold the bar.
That's it.
where it needs
Yeah,
to be.
holding them accountable,
Right.
which I say is a massive authority complex
Yeah.
problem. In a question everything. I know you do too. Question everything. You know what I mean? What are and the thing is that I found out after working at banks, like in the hierarchy of banks, I couldn't do it because I can't stand people making decisions that don't like
that aren't smart.
That aren't smart. That not even not smart. They don't know what's going on in like a department. So you'd have somebody over here making a decision for this, and I was like, this is dumb. Which is why when we switched here, I've never been happier because we have our own decision. We do our own thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this would never happen. They would never let us do this at a bank in a million years. No matter how many donations they would never let us do it. So that is like recognizing. So I guess
we have a comment up there.
Yeah, what do we got?
A second. Ralph says, does a false validation from an outside person create who you may become? Because we learn from experiences, and our experiences usually involve interaction with others.
Does a false
validation from an
outside
validating
something falsely from an
outside validation from an outside person create who you may become. What I find interesting is
I don't even know what false validation means.
It's like somebody's idea of who they think you are. If I'm correct, Ralph, if that's what you're thinking, right? So, I often you have to think about just because somebody had a certain experience with you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what was supposed to happen, but that no way, shape, or form should impact how you feel about yourself. Somebody else's impression. So
somebody calls me an a-hole, which happens.
Perhaps it's happened more than once.
Yeah, a negative influence. So a negative influence from an outside person create what you become. Maybe
so kind of like
absolutely like, and again, I think it's more about making sure that you're surrounding yourself with the kind of people you want to be around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So it's as you see. Interestingly enough, we could talk a little bit about isolation. So you think about a lot of musicians, right? Mm-hmm. They play in front of thousands of people, and yet they feel so isolated.
Yeah, isolated, and you have all these like musicians killing themselves all the time, and all that kind of thing. That makes sense.
Well, you have all those people telling them how great they are nonstop, and then they go home and sit by themselves.
Yeah,
and what the hell am I supposed to do now?
And do you think that circle is large at home, or do you think that circle is small?
No, it's like crib, like everyone, like from Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, all of them have always said like
the old saying, "Show me your friends, I'll show you your future." Boy, that's it too, man. That's a good, and that's talking about kids. Talking about kids, like that's it right there. You are. I had a conversation today with Lucas because he is 11, and Maggie asked one of Lucas's friends, this is a great example, says the boys want to walk from the middle school to a house behind the swim club.
Yeah.
That's a hall that's crossing major roads, and it's like 4 or 5 of them. Okay?
Yeah.
I had the conversation this morning with him saying, if those kids do something bad and you are with them, it's going to be your fault.
So
no matter what, because you're involved in that, and that's a prime example.
It's interesting you bring that up because my son specifically will not walk after school because he says, "No, Mom, I don't want to get in trouble."
Exactly.
Like he's aware. It's not so much him, and it's not so much you. It's the people that you associate with. May bring in something where you're like, I had no idea that this was going on.
Right.
Like you're the kid in the car who didn't know the other kid had a gun in the car. Like,
but I was the kid. But I was the kid that I wanna be thrown out there and put on that walk and be allowed to go on that walk,
but
so that I can prove to authority, like my parents, that I can do it and lead these people.
But you have to understand. He's only 11. You have to understand that. Like, I wanted to make sure he gets it though.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is somebody's going to throw a rock at a car or something. Example.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And then all of a sudden, it's not that kid that did
everybody.
It's all that group, and he is part of that group, and then everyone from then on out is going to be, well, Lucas is part of the bad kids.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my concern.
It's interesting you say that because we're pretty, where we live down by the woods,
we're
pretty permissive with allowing our kids to be independent.
And
ride their bikes down to the middle school, go down there and play.
Yeah.
I'm aware that whenever sometimes kids have their kids come over, I'm like, hey, our kids are allowed to go there. Some parents aren't comfortable with that. However, Russ Beatty, God rest
Yeah.
his soul, he would see Gregory
Yeah.
and he would, and so I made sure that my son knew these are the people, if something happens, who you go to.
Right.
So then they always had an eye on him.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like he always knew that somebody else was going to be there. Isaac,
Right.
like kind of making sure he was okay, like not to get in
That's
trouble,
it, that's
and not
it.
even so much not to get in trouble, but who do you go to if something were to happen?
Right. To be fair, I also, after I had the conversation with Lucas, just me being the dad that I am, I pulled out an Apple tag, those little Apple tags.
Yeah.
And I handed it to him. I was like, I'm also going to need you to swallow this. and he looks at me and I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And he's like, no, Dad. He's like, I'll just put it in my book bag. I said, fair enough.
And Ralph, like he says, show me your friends, I'll show you the future.
Right.
In people influencing you. Another saying is you want to be the dumbest person in the room and become better from that. Think of how lucky we are that we have such smart people always joining us in this room, making a couple of dumb losers much better. Like we are growing by having this podcast. As people, we are growing.
Do you meditate?
No, I just.
Oh, I know. Look, even just saying it, he laughs. You need
So-
to meditate.
So
We should meditate.
I
drink.
swear to goodness, lifting and running, like
That's
kind of
meditative.
It's like I'm almost
Yep.
breathing when I'm
Yep.
running.
Yep.
Something about it, being able to get all my anger out,
Yep.
get all my frustration out, it is amazing. And it is 100% a form of therapy. I don't care what anybody says.
So I want you to think about how often these kids get an opportunity to do that every day.
Oh, they don't. Yeah,
No.
there's no way.
So when you're wondering
right.
Yeah.
I am a huge proponent of recess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need recess.
Yeah,
Their
100%.
brains need the space. Their bodies need the opportunity. But I know there's a lot of challenges in a lot of different ways with regarding that. However, it is very important because kids aren't getting that.
Yeah.
Right.
And we had that.
Yeah. Being able to
We
set
have that.
like,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
like goals for myself in that day. Like I'm going to lift this amount of weight. I am going to run this many miles.
Mhm.
And by doing that and achieving those goals, I have like conquered something hard in my life during that day. And I can be like proud of myself, even though it's just a little thing.
Like I said, I've down 15 pounds, by the way.
That's
I weighed
awesome.
myself today, in 3 weeks. And I've been walking a minimum of 5 miles a day.
Yeah.
Throw my headphones on.
Yeah.
5 miles a day.
Yeah.
And I was telling Isaac, it's like you almost, it's like meditating,
Yeah.
but it's like you get lost in your, not
In your
lost,
thoughts. Yeah,
but it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because you're walking, you're
Yeah.
exercising, you're thinking.
Yeah.
It's outside.
Yeah.
The birds are chirping.
Well, that's why
you know
I
what mean?
like not. They say not to listen to music,
Very
but
zen-like.
either don't listen to music. Listen to either podcasts.
That's what I do
or
every day.
nothing at all.
Mhm.
So that's when like your best thoughts come into
Yep.
your head because you have like deep thinking and your
Yep.
mind's going and
I'm
Yeah.
so glad you brought that up. Do you know why?
Huh?
That is called psychoneuroimmunology.
What
Really?
is us walking? Us exercising?
It is the combination of your mind, your body, and your spirit. And what you're
all
talking
working
about
together
Yeah.
is
to,
the physical,
get better.
it's the
See?
physiological part of your body and what is actually changing.
Psychoneurological.
Psychoneuroimmunology.
I'm so stupid. I don't even know what I was doing, but I was doing it.
Like everything we do, we're accidentally doing things good.
see, no, but that's like, I think it's on page 2 of the book. funny.
Let's see here. Wait, Stephanie says, I saw your wife is walking these days over my. Yep, Maggie walks out. Maggie just needs to walk to get. I mean, let's be honest. That's just to get away from us.
Four dudes.
Yeah,
Yes,
four shoes.
yes, yes.
Oh no.
Walking's
not
actually very,
done
very
yet.
helpful.
Exactly.
Maggie just walking, going like this.
I mean, could you imagine? I mean, they're literally 11, 7, and 4-year-old versions of me. Every one of them. It is just like, oh my god.
She's getting a straight line. A straight line.
100% correct.
I'm a son of a detective Youngstown, 33 years. My
Oh,
dad
she's
was a
talking about
cop.
the family.
I heard
Yep.
that every day in my life, it was beat in my head like granite.
every second. Yeah, of the you
Yeah.
are who you hang. Yeah, your
Yeah,
whole life.
absolutely.
Being out in
absolutely.
nature is therapy, 100%, which is why I like fishing and hunting.
Yeah,
right there, it's
absolutely.
just nice. Yeah, so that's cool. So okay, so let's talk about the kids a little bit.
Yeah.
Bring
Bring that comment down.
So I'm gonna briefly talk about
Yeah.
a couple different types of stress.
Please.
There's physical stress.
Love it. Go ahead.
Physical stress.
Physical
Yes.
stress.
Psychological stress.
Okay.
Social stress.
Okay.
So wait. So
Interpersonal relationships.
okay. Well, let's start with physical stress would be
Actually, physically exhausting yourself.
Going
There you
nonstop, not sleeping enough.
Right.
What was the other one?
Psychological
Like,
stress.
is that in your own head?
Psychological
Yeah.
environment. Yep. Psychological
Okay.
stress that you experience.
Social stress.
Social stress, interpersonal relationships, conflicts with people, your inability to communicate, if you're challenged by something.
I think that's my wife's.
I just choose not to talk to
It
people.
truly, remember when I talked about it's like your perception
Right.
of it's your perception of a situation. You and I, interestingly enough, can be in the same spot, right? And this is my example.
Did somebody just throw a bomb under our door?
No, right. Mailman. The mailman. That's great.
It's like, oh my god, don't open it. It's arsenic. Oh,
There you
nice.
go.
Oh,
All right, so we're gonna
You
use this.
just
We're
got
gonna
it
use this
then.
as we're gonna use this water bottle
Okay.
as an example.
So
Okay,
this is social.
this is social.
Okay, water.
So here's the situation. Okay, this
Okay.
is the entire situation.
Got it.
What do you see on your side of the situation?
Hold on. Scoot it.
What do you want to write?
We can't see her.
Oh, here.
Wait.
Here.
Let's put it right here. Let's put it right here.
Right
You
here.
can see it.
Okay, here.
There.
So everybody can
Okay.
see. Okay.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. So
This is the situation.
This is the situation.
Okay.
On this side, which would be your side,
Okay.
you could turn it so you can see it.
Yeah.
So what is on your side that you see?
I see the letters.
You see the letters.
Dasani.
What does it say?
Dasani.
Okay. Isaac, what's on your side?
I got a barcode. I got please recycle. I got
But he doesn't see that.
no.
No, I just see my side, you jerk.
And you only
Dasani.
see your side. You don't see his side.
No.
Right. So the key
Is seeing the other side.
Is communicating.
is to see
Luke-
it all
well,
the
no,
way
it's-
around in order to really get a good understanding.
The
Of any situation.
to the relationship would be no. Yeah, exactly. See, that's your problem right there.
Right.
No,
Give me
the
back my
key.
water bottle.
The key would be Luke. What are you seeing on your side? Explain it to me.
Yes.
I see some letters.
Okay, what do the letters say? You have to be good at communicating what it looks
Dasani.
like.
Dasani.
Okay, what like give me colors.
Oh, they're
What are you
white. They're
seeing? I
blue.
need good
They're
explanations.
they're white and blue, and it's Dasani, and they're real fancy.
And how is that
Yes.
making you feel?
Explaining it to him,
Yes.
I hate it.
Right.
Yeah, because
Don't
you
like
hate
this.
relying on other
'Cause
people.
this is a waste of time. Like me
And-
explaining things to you because you should freaking know what's on this side of the thing.
And
Exactly.
is that the whole point? You think that he should know what's on that side.
Yeah, and I'm not going to understand what's on your side, even if even if you did
I
explain.
think I just had a breakthrough.
There we go. There we go. All over a water bottle. Can I have it back?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I just figured it out. Oh my god,
Yeah.
I don't explain things good to you, do I?
No, but it's,
No,
but
you
it's
d-
the importance of having patience and making sure that somebody sees it from your side.
Yeah,
but it's
patience.
also, you have to
Yeah.
think about, did I eat today?
But I'm in how we're different. I'm the type of person where I want to explain to you what's on my side so that you better understand it. You don't give a shit what's on my side. That's your problem.
Why is this turning into about me all of a sudden? Why is this me? Why am I?
I don't know. I'm just trying to use the. I'm just trying to use the podcast to critique your management style.
Why is this all of a sudden about me? Oh my
It's not-
god!
but it is important because we're talking about mental health,
Right.
And that they always, it's the old adage, your own oxygen mask before you put it on. You always have to put your own
Right.
oxygen
That
mask
makes
on
sense.
before you
I
put
like
on
that
someone
one
else.
too.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, raising kids at my age,
Yeah.
it's not like there's a reason you do it in your 20s and not your mid 20s.
You
Later 20s.
mid 30s.
But it's because we joke, we're like, oh well, you have patience when you're young and you're
Right,
poor, but when
right.
you're like you don't know any better. But when
Yeah.
you're older, you've watched all of your friends make poor decisions.
Yeah.
Like you've watched it all happen,
Yeah.
and that's why it's even more so like, oh my, don't do this, don't do that, because you see what unfolds from one thing.
I have said this from day one. So I am 42, 43. Isaac is 27.
Yeah.
So there's a 15, almost 16-year age gap. Watching them grow up, I learned a ton from, and just not even like, oh, I'm going to learn how to raise kids. It was just watching and,
Right.
and sucking it in.
What works and what
What works and what doesn't work, and like it definitely helped me from the experience.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're mid 30s,
my God, I
raising
wish.
raising your kids. You've learned from those experiences that you've seen from everybody else. I mean, it's experience. It's like a job. You know what I mean? You learn
Yeah.
from experience, so that makes sense to me.
But there's something to say too about like you want to protect them, but at the same time
You gotta let them fly.
you got to let them do almost not dangerous things,
Yes, dangerous
but
things
risky
carefully.
things
No,
where
carefully.
or they almost think it's risky. They almost think it's dangerous, but you're
controlled risk.
sitting back
Yeah,
and you
controlled
know they're
risk.
safe. And if anything happens, they're safe. But
w-
they need to have those mental challenges and conquer them.
Welcome to paparenting. That was
Yeah,
like how we
exactly.
grew up, which
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
we rode our bikes
Yeah.
all around town.
Yep.
Russ
Yeah.
Beatty knew exactly who everyone
Yeah.
was. He knew who
Yeah.
everyone's parents were.
Yeah.
You knew, like, you rode
Yeah.
bikes all day long. You had
Dad
to
let me climb the tree,
Different-
knowing if I
different
fell out of
environment.
the tree, I was gonna break my arm, but he still let me do it.
Yeah.
Because, it's like I don't know. You like want.
Well, yeah, it sucks.
So you wonder why kids are unable to know their own limits or what is safe and what is not safe.
Yeah.
Because you know what isn't? This right here, this
Yeah.
is a complete false sense of security.
Exactly.
Right, yeah, right.
Right? It's a complete false sense of security.
Yeah.
And it's not reality. And then
Yeah.
they don't learn to trust themselves or the decisions that they're making.
Right.
And when you're not able to trust because you don't know who you are because you're basing your whole life off of a filter
Yeah.
that of somebody who, how many people did you know in California in 1990
Yeah,
something,
zero,
right?
right.
Versus now, like you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I know, this pod, all these people.
Yeah.
It's such a different world, which I think is why it's even more important to educate youth about awareness of who they are,
What's going
tapping,
on? Yeah.
helping them to tap into that and discovering who am I in a relationship? Am I the leader? Am I the supporter?
Right.
I know my role in different jobs. My job is to light the flame for the path for everyone else to walk through,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
like you
right.
got to kind of know what you're
Right.
good at
Yeah. Yeah.
in order to know all the other things. So it's
Interesting. See, and this is the stuff that we have to teach our kids to be aware of all of this. And there's no way they
it's EQ, not IQ.
EQ. What's that?
Emo-
Emotional.
Emotional intelligence.
Wow. See,
It's,
to
like, huge.
know,
It's key right
know
now.
what they're thinking, to
Yeah.
know what's going on,
Yeah.
to be smart. And the problem is with kids, parents don't even do that themselves. Parents don't get it, so those kids are never going to learn that.
Mhm.
No.
So where do we get back to
Right.
the schools and the education of it? Correct. In what we have in Poland, there's one
Middle school, right?
there's one.
In the middle school, I think there's one in the elementary.
Okay, and we're saying counselors,
School counselor.
school counselors.
Now I want you to think about like what all 28 kids in a class.
Yeah.
How many kids, and I'll be honest with you, how many kids are in foster care? How many kids are not living in a traditional home
Yeah.
with two parents?
Yeah.
How many kids are living with grandparents who, by the way, have no idea how to run Google Classroom? How many, right? Like,
Fact.
right.
And-
There's a lot
Yeah.
of different challenges that kids are faced with at home
Yeah.
Right.
that we are completely unaware of.
Yeah.
And then that's coming into a classroom and it impacts the classroom and their ability to work because I can't even sit and focus, let
Yeah.
alone get that work done.
Right.
Right. So
And
there's a lot because I'm feeling all these emotions.
And the other thing too is you wonder if there's just that one person waiting. Do they just put out the fires and like handle the absolute obvious
Oh,
worst
100%.
cases?
100%.
And then like I remember, like I never talked to the counselor at school one time, but like if they're just putting out the fires, handling the worst obvious cases, how many people are actually flying on, or how many kids are flying under the radar?
Right.
Under the radar.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
And absolutely
Well,
burning, but they're not as obvious
Because you
about
look like you got it together.
it. Yeah.
Well,
Because
yeah.
you look like you're,
You're-
good.
you're
like you're
a-
not in
yeah.
trouble.
You
right?
get good grades. You're an
Right.
athlete.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
doing good. You know what I mean? You
Right.
have friends. You just don't know what's going on in somebody's
Right.
freaking
No.
head. That's the
No.
problem. Yeah, I 100% see. I mean, there are people with the poor kid in Lowville that said they had, they knew there were problems, but they didn't think it was that bad. That's the other problem too. Is oh, he's gonna get through it. Yeah, he's gonna get through it. He's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and you just
It's
don't
not
know.
obvious.
You
And
just
then-
don't know.
Damn.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, that's talk to your kids.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that you don't really know, was there a problem previous to his,
You
like
don't
there's,
know.
you don't know other people's situation.
Yeah,
Grief is a huge
Yeah.
huge
Oh,
one. Do you remember the day, I think it was about a year and a half ago, kids were playing football.
Mhm.
It was a Sunday
Okay.
and I came out of the stands and I ran up to my husband. I think you were coaching. And I was like, I gotta go. My girlfriend's
I
son
don't
just
remember
died.
that. Wow,
And he
don't
was
remember that.
18.
Yeah. Wow.
And he, it was a genetic, it was a genetic
Heart thing.
mhm.
Wow.
And I've lost a lot of
Yeah.
people, but like there's nothing
Yeah, kid.
nothing
yeah.
that prepares you for that.
Yeah. Losing a kid.
and
yeah.
and to her attribute, she's been since 7th grade. I met her at Poland.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow. Yeah.
best friend for a very, very long time. But at different points, you know, she had kids a lot younger than I did.
Yeah.
Here's me showing up going, what am I doing? It's the idea that over time, your grief does find a space.
Mhm.
It finds a space. You
Yeah.
just have to be open and willing to work through it. It never leaves you.
Right.
It
But
never leaves you.
but
Those
for a
feelings,
kid, that's going to be even harder.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's
that
what I'm
makes sense.
saying.
Yeah,
This
right.
is as an adult.
Yeah.
You
can't.
know, she was like, okay, you know, her clutch was to always,
Yeah.
you know, have a drink, have a
Yeah,
drink, have
right.
a drink. And I was like, listen, for 1 year,
We
you
can't
do
that.
whatever you
Yeah.
need to do.
Yeah.
I said, but after the 1 year mark, we're going to find ourselves some grief therapy.
Yeah.
And don't
Yeah.
you know, I dragged her there.
Yeah.
You know,
Did it- and it helped?
Yeah. Oh, tremendous,
Yeah.
tremendous. And that's what I'm saying. You have to allow people their own time to process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with kids, you have to be able to find other avenues, because for my girlfriend, it's natural to
Right.
pick up the bottle. You don't know what's natural for a, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
How they're going to
How
handle
they're gonna
grief.
handle
Boy, that's a good point too. You
Yeah.
lose a
So-
parent, you lose something like that. Did you as a kid?
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence. See, Stephanie.
Yeah,
She knows.
Stephanie.
No, it's true. It's so important. So important.
Wow, this is good. So what else you got it? So we're talking about again, re-rack.
Reset the pins.
Reset the pins. John Lobo.
Reset the
So again,
pins.
we're talking with Stephanie Volpini Hahn. We're discussing mental health. She is a adjunct professor, master degree in mental health counseling. Did I say it right
No.
that time?
Master's in education counseling.
Education
Like,
counselor.
Okay, that's a terrible
you
reset
know-
of the pins.
It's terrible. Reset the pins. You know what? It's my jam is student affairs, leadership, and practice. Like students, like that 7th, 8th grade, student affairs, like just kids.
Student affairs.
Yes, the affairs of students.
Like, give me an example. What would be an affair of a student? Can you give me one?
Academics.
Okay. So they're struggling.
Relationships,
Relationships.
social, emotional.
Wow. Does that counselor so if you're a counselor in the school, would you like pull in a kid and just be, hey, how are you doing? Like I don't know how that would work. Are you just waiting or?
Well, I think for me,
We
me,
need to get the
I would
counselor
find
on here.
myself at a bar and I'd be talking to the bartender, like, what are you doing with your life? Like, what's going on
Yeah,
here?
just
Right? Like,
mentally
my friends would be
breaking
like,
them
right,
down.
and they're just like, what is
Bartender's like,
going on?
oh boy.
So that's always my MO. I'm pretty direct. I go right to it. I don't
Yeah.
really, you know.
Yeah. Free
Um,
drink if you leave me alone, lady.
Right. So you know, I learned not to be the drinker. I learned to be the bartender, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what
Yeah.
I'd say. However, you know, it's hard, right? Because you don't know kind of what's going on in a kid's world.
Right.
It's you see where things are most successful is where it's supported by a school. So when it's in a school, when kids are in a school where they are supported and in an
makes sense.
environment where they're learning about themselves,
Right.
that is, I think, where I've seen the biggest impact. It's different in college.
Yeah.
In college, you were literally like on your own
Yeah.
to like figure it out. And you may show up to class and you may not.
Yeah.
And you may show up to class with the alcohol still coming out
Oh,
your
yeah.
pores, right? And
I just didn't go to class if I was at home.
yeah, neither
For
did
the
I.
record.
See, that's why I was able to just say,
For the
hey,
record.
just drink on the weekends. Isaac, don't be an idiot.
I
never
scheduled
put
my
myself
classes
on.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, loaded them, so then that way I could recover on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, I never did that.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I knew the drinking schedule. I knew who had what night
Yeah.
more than I knew my own school
Yeah,
schedule, but
yeah,
that's a whole other
me
thing.
too.
So my point in sharing this with you is that it's important for us to advocate for mental health and awareness for youth starting young ages,
Right.
because their bodies are changing. They don't know what's happening. Think about the fact some of these kids were in a pandemic. They'd
Yeah.
never seen a 13-year-old girl, right? And like, let alone be in a class.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a lot of stuff that occurs, and
Yeah.
you're assuming that they're coming from a good home,
Yeah.
That's
right?
right.
And you don't know that you have no idea what's been going on there.
Yeah.
So I know they're not just going to be a big push for it, but it just speaks to why it's so important for us from here forward
Yeah.
to advocate. I don't know if anybody knows the shop Tilly's in the mall.
Yeah.
But they always ask, would you like to give some money to teens' mental health? And I'm always like, put it
Giving
on
it
there,
on
you
there.
know, and
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
like, I said,
Right.
because that's where it's happening. These are times when you're starting to develop your conscience, right? You're
Right.
starting to identify your values and who you are. And when you're hanging out, like,
Yeah.
right, with what Ralph said, like, you're like, well, I don't know if that's okay. Like, I think my parents probably would not
Right.
be okay with that.
Right.
Right. And you're trying to find your guideposts, but you're
Yeah.
trying to do that kind of in the dark
Yeah.
without a map.
And the
Yeah.
sad
know what
thing
that
too
looks
is like
like.
you grow up and at the start you have these friends and everybody's cool, and then you like navigate through, and then eventually some kids start to veer off and do their own crazy stuff, and you're like, yeah, like you
I'm
said,
out. Yeah,
I'm
right.
out, and then veer the other way, and then you like lose friends along the way, which is so sad. But it's like I had those friends, and then you'd see them, and you're like, hey man, what's going on? Well, I got into this, and this, and you're like, holy shit, thank God.
Right.
And then you're isolated, and then you know, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
but you make new friends as you go, though.
You can.
You fit in with people that you get along with, and match your thing.
I think for me, it was that I couldn't I kept not being able to like
playing footsies with me.
I didn't mean to. Jeez, sorry.
To launch. That's the word I'm going to use. I kept not being able to figure out how to launch.
Launch.
Right? Like figure it out.
Yeah, I get it.
Right? And I think there's more and more kids that we need to help them figure out who they are, what they're good at before they graduate high school. Because I'm not saying I obviously loved college. I also don't know if college is for everyone, but I think you need to know why you're going to college.
Yeah, you need to go
you need to know why you're going.
You need to go to be something.
But the problem with that is, though, how do you make a 17-year-old or 18-year-old make that decision? That's always been my argument with college. Is it's like I think college is super important.
Yeah,
I think
those freaking tests that tell you need to be a computer whiz.
Yeah,
that's kind of my thing. But listen to this. Let me just say this. I think it's important to help kids understand you can go get a 2-year degree,
right?
And while you're getting that 2-year degree,
figure out.
Because you know what you're doing, you're figuring out what kind of people do you want to work with. You figure out what kind of environment do you want.
Right.
Yeah.
Do I like to work with people? Do I not like to work with people?
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's important that they have that.
Yeah.
And the only reason those tests, I learned anything from those tests, is college people would come from different colleges throughout, would come into South Range and give us these tests, right? And then be like, if you're interested in going to YSU or Cleveland or wherever, fill out this form, give us your address, and we'll reach out to you. So what does senior year Isaac do? He fills out all of his buddies. So I fill out like my buddy Jordan, like put his name in there, his address, his home phone number. And I had moms calling me like, please, Isaac, stop putting so-and-so's name on the forms. They will not stop calling our home phone.
You know what that test, when I was in college, you know what that test told, or in high school, you know what that test told me I had to be?
What?
A minister.
Really?
I'm not surprised.
A minister.
That was the work.
I'm up there on clergy.
Really?
Yeah.
A minister.
And the other thing on the test too, they would say like, what time's the best time for us to call? Like 11 p.m. So they would call their home phone at 11 o'clock at night. My buddy's moms were begging me to stop.
So
I'm sure having him around didn't really help.
Oh, it was so great.
That's a great,
so awesome.
Great role model.
Or you just go with the classic names of like Bend Over.
Great.
Hello, is Mr. Bend Over there?
For the love of God.
Wow. So, I mean, we're getting there.
Yes. I have to go make a cake.
I have to go. Yeah, I have to go.
But that's how I learned
go make a cake
I'm better like interacting with people and like talking to people, and I don't know. Like,
So what would your I mean, in summary, what would your goals be? Like if you had a perfect thing.
Oh my gosh, do not use the word perfect.
Not a perfect.
That's
but
the problem.
If you could,
People have this concept of perfectionism and they don't think like,
if you could improve. Yeah, if you could improve like
personally on one thing.
On one thing, what would it be?
I'll tell you what I'm doing.
Yep.
No,
not you. Yeah, I mean, with either society or yourself or whatever. I mean, you.
For me, you know, I am approaching a new stage in my life, so I am very much looking forward to learning like how to cook.
Are you become a chef?
I mean, I'm a bougie eater.
Okay.
Like I like good food.
Yeah.
And my daughter's like allergic to everything.
That.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a super, and my son is not. And my husband's like just chicken fingers and fries. And
right.
I'm like, oh my God, like I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm taking the next year to have a little bit of me time.
Good for you.
And, you know, work on trying to be honest with you, a better mom, better wife, better me. Because the more you work on yourself, the more you're more able to be there for other people. That's right. And for the last 3 years, you know, I've been working with kids in the foster care system and, you know, helping them try to figure out how to navigate that and kids on the autism spectrum. And I love it.
Yeah.
But it definitely, has a different sort of pull from your energy.
Yeah.
Right. And you're always in like work mode, and you just forget about the heart space sometimes. And I think, just trying to work on being a kindler, softer, gentler me.
Oh,
a little bit, just not too much, but yeah,
that's good. So change is coming in Stephanie's life.
Change coming in
If
my
you're gonna
life.
become a chef or whatever, could we feel free to share food with us? Like
We
try
like food.
anything.
My girlfriend is
we're
a
not
chef.
picky.
Oh, is this her, Trisha?
Trisha?
Oh yes,
She's
that's
commenting.
yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
look.
gosh, you have no idea.
Yeah,
No,
she's
she's
commenting.
seriously
Stephanie, it's your
she's
favorite
seriously
chef.
my chef. Like
Seriously?
seriously.
Her chef.
Yeah, like I call her for everything. Like Thanksgiving morning,
Does she
Christmas
make you
morning.
or she advises?
Both. Both. But I mean, like, she has actually, you know where she is?
Uh-huh.
She's at Schaffen. She is like
Schaffen.
Schaffen.
She's a teacher, teaching
Yeah,
chef.
career and technical. Yes.
Oh,
you gotta go see
you
her.
prepared the beautiful trays when we went,
Trish,
and-
let's
She does
get-
more than
Yeah,
beautiful
let's-
trays.
we
More
were
than
eating-
beautiful
We went
trays.
to Schaffen, didn't we, Luke? Yeah, we went to Schaffen.
Yeah, we went
to
And
Schaffen.
We were in the
Yeah.
tech
Yeah,
area,
that was
and they
cool.
had the food.
I said that was an
such a
amazing
big
place.
Oh
like
yeah,
at school.
you've no idea.
Oh,
That place
So-
was awesome.
And she actually lives out on a farm, and her husband makes beer, and I mean
Why
the
don't
garden they have is ridiculous. I mean ridiculous.
Why don't we try and get Trisha on with you on next, like, and bring some
Why don't we
food?
do it at Schaffen? And we
Oh
eat
my gosh, we
food?
could cook.
Yeah,
Could
and then
we do that at
like,
Schaffen?
compete to make
Oh,
a cake.
Seville will let us do that at Schaffen. Could you
Absolutely.
imagine?
Yeah.
I gotta make a cake today.
Can
That's
we
why
like
she's
go
like,
in,
hey,
like,
you gotta make a
we'll
cake
set up
today.
cameras
Yeah.
and we'll do like a baking
I
show.
need
my
to
God, I
restart
love
my
it.
potatoes.
Can we
I
do a
burned my
baking show?
potatoes.
See every
I need to
holiday,
restart
every
my
single
potatoes.
holiday.
We
I'm
could
pretty
do,
good. Like I make homemade ravioli, like
Yeah.
legit
Sounds good.
homemade ravioli. But like I said, I like bougie. I like good food.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're asking me to make mac and cheese out of Kraft mac and
Yeah,
cheese,
not
I'm
gonna
like,
happen.
no, we'll
Yeah.
just, is there a drive-through we could go to? Because I have I'm not dirty in my pretty kitchen for that.
how fun would that be? I want to
That'd
do
be
that.
awesome.
I want to no something hard.
But
We
you
have-
know what's so funny?
Do something hard.
That is a great way to impact mental health, right? It's like what you're feeding your body.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. It's all of those things that I love that you get excited about this.
So what
I
could go
know.
wrong?
See?
We end up
What-
burning
what
down
could-
shopping.
What could go wrong?
Trisha says every holiday with
Yes.
a period.
Yes.
Every.
Yeah. There's no.
holiday.
I have to say, it's rough to go on vacation with her.
Because she's
Oh, Luke,
Oh,
look at
it's-
our grad. Look at Grace.
Let's see.
our little Gracie. You know her? She's from Youngstown Pizza Reviews.
Look
We
at
got
that.
invited.
Look
We,
at that.
we got invited to her party, Isaac.
Man, we're gonna be like the drunkles.
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 Oh,
For the love.
Gracie, we're getting
Drunkles
so
showed
drunk at
up.
your.
Anyway,
graduation
guys,
party.
I really enjoyed this today. This
Let's
is
do
a lot
this
of
again.
fun.
Let's do this again.
I think this is. I think looking inward was good for us, Luke.
It was very
Water
good.
bottle. Always go back to the water bottle.
All right. Next
It really
next
helps
time
you
I do
see.
that to you, we'd be like, dude, you're water bottling me. Like, call me out on it.
I'll try.
You know, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be like, shut
No,
up.
I know you're gonna tell me shut up. That I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm an idiot.
You know what I thought about? Like, there's a lot of times I wanted to bring this metaphor in to talk about this because I think it really helps with people in a lot of different situations.
Yeah,
That just because you see this side doesn't mean that the other side
That's a
isn't
good-
true.
that's a good point.
Right. And it's important to try to be objective,
Or
even
that
if you
the-
don't
Or
necessarily
that the
agree.
other side has a point,
Right.
and the other side might be right, and you might be wrong. You know,
Are you
Occasionally it
gaslighting me
happens.
right
No, I'm
now?
not gaslighting you.
Oh my gosh.
I think by saying no, I'm not gaslighting you. I think I'm gaslighting
Gordon
you.
Ramsay's Beef Wellington. I know she went to some bougie
I want to try.
chef school.
Trisha, can you teach us how to make
And I want-
Gordon
and I
Ramsay
want-
spaghetti?
And I want Trisha to like yell at us the whole time. Too. Like, what are you? I'm an
No.
idiot family.
No, all you do is this is all you say. Yes, chef. Yes,
Yes.
chef. Yes, chef. That's all you say.
Thank you, chef.
That would be
Thank
so
you.
That's
amazing.
two words. Yes, chef. That's all you need to know.
Thank
She'd
you,
be like,
sir.
"Are you stupid?" Like we're like, "What's wrong with you? How dare you stir your potatoes right to left? It should be left to right." All right, everybody. That was a good show. Let's do this again. This was fun. You come on again. You like this. We could start doing like a once a month show
I'm gonna
with
start
Stephanie.
asking her questions during our softball game. If I have.
Oh my god, I loved softball.
Wasn't it fun?
Oh my
It's gonna
gosh, I
be
loved
so-
it.
Just
Wait
it's
till
a
we
lot
play
of fun.
again. It's so much fun.
We have to talk about our outfits.
I think
made
we're on
a-
shirts.
So I have a shirts designed, like
Good,
a
Dave.
baseball gray, and I was gonna go color, but it was really expensive.
Super
I got
expensive.
a dry fits,
Mhm.
so
Super
it's just gonna be
expensive.
black. I have the MLO bros in black on the front. and
What color
then-
pants?
I don't have pants. You need to get pants. I just.
Well,
got
I know, but we
shirts.
have to like look coordinated. We can't just show up there like, what is this? We can't look up there like a hot mess.
I wear pants.
I wear gray.
and
I have gray
duck-
baseball
and
shorts.
I have.
I only have white baseball
There
shorts. I
should
could
be
find
some
some gray ones.
I have black pants that I've ripped so many times that I'm not buying new pants. I have them duct taped so that when I slide, I don't get hurt.
Well, for those of you who know, Stephanie's on our softball team, and we had our first game, but it turned into practice the other championship. She shows up dressed like a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
She has a freaking outfit. She has pants. She has spikes.
Yeah.
She has these big glasses. She's like, "Do you guys like this? Do you guys like this look?" I'm like, "Oh my god, what are we doing?"
But I ended up getting the shirts down in price
amazing.
by just doing the bulldog. You know,
Yeah.
the big bulldog.
Yes.
It's going to be in just all black.
Yeah. But then I was amazed though, because she goes out in the field. Well, she hit all over.
Yeah.
And then she's in the outfield making plays. I was like, look at her. So
It's a way to get cardio.
it's great.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and I will be honest with you. One of the things that I was working on was trying to say more yes and to have more fun in my life.
There you go.
And that was
You come
when
play
you guys
softball.
put that on there, I was like, I'm in.
Come-
And that's one of the things that like it's
You hang
have
out
to
with us.
do.
You hang out with us. You're gonna have fun. Normally,
Yeah.
normally we are.
You might get
We have fun.
frustrated and annoyed by us, but you're going to have a little bit of fun.
I don't think I'd be the only one.
Oh
No.
no! Oh no! It
No.
goes. It's kind of like a
See,
double-edged
at
sword.
least we're able to recognize our issue and just warn people before they start hanging out with us.
Every Friday is
You're gonna
from
get
every
annoyed
Friday
eventually.
from 9 to 10. You have your
Yeah,
little
we
sessions.
need
You're
little.
gonna get annoyed eventually and want to like leave, but it's fun for a while.
Oh, good Lord. God bless our wives. All right. Everybody, we are loan officers. That's our real jobs. Please use us. Tell your friends to use us for financing too.
Yeah.
NMLS 562548.
NMLS number 1949316. Also, check out our sponsors at the bottom there. This isn't an official podcast at 8:30, so we don't really have to mention them, but they're there if you want to call them. So.
So, all right, everybody. Stephanie, thanks. That was fun. Yay.
Yay!
Good job, Stephanie.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye, everybody. Oh, hold on. Don't say anything bad yet, Steph. I got to turn it off. Don't swear.
I would not.
You got to drop an F-bomb right as we get off the air.
No, I
Bye,
won't.
everybody.
Bye.